Okay, so here we are on September 1st, a Sunday, and Labor Day weekend. So just shortly after 8 a.m. It's a little bit overcast. I don't know what the weather is supposed to be exactly, but we're having like okay temperatures right now, so it's not that bad. Outside we have a building that is being completely redone straight ahead, but it could look like windows have been blown out. In that building there's a dry bar, which is some sort of hair salon, or is it nail or hair? Anyway, either way, it's just called Dry Bar. And one day I walked by this building before they were doing these renovations, and a sprinkler system was going off, so there was water dripping all over the place, you know, even in front of the dry bar. You can kind of see, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there are water streaks on the 3 floors that have windows on this building. And that's probably still from the incident of, of just the sprinkler system going off or whatever was going on that day. Like there was no fire or anything. So, anyway, was reading the news and saw a couple things of interest. One thing was the fact that Brazil and a couple other countries, or some other countries I guess, are supposedly, or did supposedly, cut themselves off from X, formerly known as Twitter. I thought that was interesting. There's a dry bar, peace, love, and blowouts. And this building looks like it was blown out. See what I mean? Does Philly do it on purpose? But with the Brazil theme, I thought of another YouTuber who goes by Julian or whatever in New York City, and he always like starts with his camera on the ground, and he'll like kind of show up on the camera and say, "Let's go," you know. And anyway, this morning all I kept thinking of was, "Let's go." And then he walks around New York City. He doesn't really talk, he just and New York City is a great place to do videos because everything is so grandiose, big buildings. It's always a show in New York City. Nothing's boring, you know what I mean? So in a way, as long as you have a really high level camera and some time on your hands or whatever, you can walk around New York City and a million people will watch those views or watch those videos, simply because people from around the world are curious about New York City. Philly is kind of lower on the totem pole. It's not, other than history, it's not known for being a huge destination city, other than the Constitution and stuff like that. So Brazil is a country within, or I'm sorry, right, a country within South America, like Colombia, Brazil, and so forth and so on. And in Brazil they speak Portuguese, so most people would just say Spanish, but there is a separation of Brazil from the rest of the country in that they speak Portuguese. So it's a variation of Spanish. And often it seems like, people will turn up in the United States from Brazil. So they have family in Brazil. Like, there's at least 4 or 5 people who I've crossed paths with, whether acquaintances or temporary friends or whatever, because people are, transits or whatever, there's a word I'm trying to think of, but people come and go, and maybe they have a green card or whatever. So also in the lesbian community, there's often a lot of, that's actually where I met like at least 3 Brazilians. I thought that was interesting. They might turn up in the domestic violence industry or nonprofit world simply because the idea of empowering women is still, a major issue in other countries, even South America. We often think of the Middle East or other countries where women, you know, either prefer or are forced to clothe themselves to the hilt or whatever, you know, for religious reasons, meaning covering all parts of the body and so forth and so on. Anyway, so when you're in that country, of course, Americans are advised to, you know, pay respects to the culture. So anytime you travel, you don't want to, you know, not do what's expected per se. So anyway, but Brazil, let's go. And I thought it was funny because in the lesbian community there are a lot of Brazilians, and all I think of when I hear let's go is lesbian. So anyway, just heading on up to the art museum area. Here's the Ukraine. So I used the word lesbian, and I heard someone sniffle over there. Now, if people were puppeted, and you know, people aren't even conscious that they might make a sound or a gesture. Oh, and here's Turkey, makes it even better. So the sniffle reminded me of the implication, or the universe trying to imply that you know, maybe one or both of my parents were upset that I was in the lesbian community. I don't really identify with any community at this point because I've been disappointed all around. So I'm a totally awesome person, but I was heavily abused wherever I went. So I'm like, there must be a tag on my back or something. So, you know, I'm not impressed with anyone. But of course, you know, there are awesome people out there, but for some reason, I actually started to believe that I was on a certain path, and that the only is, you can give all the love you can get. You can give all the love you want. It doesn't mean you're going to get it back. That's a total fallacy. So you could attract instead predators if you give a lot of love. You could seem easy to step on, easily taken advantage of. But anyway, whatever I was, so right, there was a day when I was banking, and it's hard to explain how a message can, and interestingly, my mom and aunt lived in Turkey Creek Forest in Gainesville. They lived in Jacksonville in their older age for a while, and then moved to Gainesville, Turkey Creek Forest. That's why Turkey was symbolic there by the Ukraine and where the lady was sniffling. So the implication I got while I was banking in a credit union at the time, I no longer belong to a credit union. I gave up on that idea. I think I was brought to the credit union by in order to be targeted, to be honest. You know, this was just the Philadelphia one. It's not really like a police and fire one, but I'll just stick to a different bank that doesn't have a lot of fees, but I will no longer ever do a credit union. Thanks. Because the union attacked me. People who are unionized, who are part of a union, jumped my ass, you know, and then I get blamed for being, you know, not a loner, but it would be like, you know, but it's like, well, why would I want to hang out with you guys? You're totally raped me. Thanks. So anyway, I will never do a credit